is Roger Wong, and today I am going to go through a head-to-head of all the available AI tools that are out there for designers. And I've done this test in the middle of April 2025, between like April 16th and the 27th, which is today. I've done a couple of captures this morning. So I'll walk through every single tool that I tested in this head-to-head comparison. So this video is a little bit long, so I will put chapters in the description below. Skip to the sections that interest you, scrub through or whatever. I do go through every single tool, so that's why it's so long. And we'll have a summary at the end. Okay, here we have an app called Bolt. It is very typical of most of these apps, which is it starts you off with a blank, basically, a text box that you can type in a prompt, right? And we'll see this common pattern for pretty much all the different apps that we're going to look at today. And for all of these apps, I am starting with the same prompt, which is to creating shopping cart experience. And I've already pre-recorded these, so I'm just going to hit play and then do a commentary on top of it. So like I said, I am going to use a standard prompt, create a complete shopping cart checkout experience for an online clothing retailer. And what's nice about Bolt is that it shows you the code as it's writing it. I suppose if you're a developer, this is great because you get to see exactly what it's doing, all the different files and dependencies it's adding to the project. If you're a designer like me, and this video is for designers, it probably doesn't mean a whole lot, right? It's just a bunch of stuff that we don't quite understand. Although I will say that as you go through using these AI tools that do code, as a designer, I think you do start to pick up some of the concepts. So it'll at least help you, I guess, wield these tools a little bit better and a little bit easier. I will also say that this is the first time I use this tool here, and Bolt came out with a new feature a couple of days ago, so I did the evaluation this morning, but I got nothing. Like, I got to this preview screen and it was completely blank. I tried that a couple of times until I ran out of credits and I still got nothing, so I don't know. So this video is from about 9 days ago. The design is okay. It's very plain. It's decent. The UX is fine. It's very typical, and I purposefully chose something that was relatively easy to solve, right? And I think what it doesn't do here is it doesn't do a lot of the validations. It didn't do the confirmation page, which is what I was expecting as well. So yeah, it's okay. And then we'll show you the final score in the next frame. All right, our next tool that we're going to take a look at is called Lovable. And Lovable launched a 2.0 version, I think it was today or yesterday, so very, very recently. So I decided to redo the capture that I did about 9 days ago. So let's play this video and I'll narrate through it and fast forward through anything that is kind of boring. So I paste in our standard prompt, which is creating a shopping cart experience, and it goes through its thing. I think this takes a little bit, so I'm just going to fast forward through this chunk. Okay, so here's the first look at some of the UI that it produced. It's very clean, if a little plain, and so it's got some nice interactions here with the toast notifications. It's got a sidebar, a shopping cart, so that's great. But I think it gets stuck at some point, which is checkout. Yes, that's right. So here I had to coax it a little bit and get it to actually produce the shopping cart. And I think what I did was I just asked. Right, so you have the start, but I don't see the shopping cart. So goes through its thing, asks if we want database integration, and no, don't need that right now. Let's just mock it up. So it keeps going, and then let's take a look. All right, so now, oh, it still didn't work. There was an error. So there's an automatic button at least that says try to fix. So a little bit of a different approach here than Bolt, which is that it tries to hide all the code. I believe there is a way to look at it if you want to, but again, as a designer, I care more about what's actually drawn on screen in the browser than I do about the code. So yeah, it's going through its thing. And here's the actual checkout. Again, very simple, very vanilla, very clean at least. And then, yeah, we even get the confirmation page, which is definitely something I wanted to see. And that is Lovable. All right, next up we have Polymet. So this one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add our prompt right there. And this is a very interesting interface. I have to say, I kind of like it. So you have your chat on the left, so it's doing its thinking now, but you'll see this canvas on the right, and instead of just showing the screen that it's working on, it's actually creating these individual components that will get combined into a page. It's almost like it's building Figma components and then combining them at the end, except that these are all coded components. I'll like scrub through because it does take a little bit of time. Right, so it's like even here you can see that the different checkout steps it has components for. And then it combines it into pages at the end. And the design is pretty good. It's again plain, but it's very clean. I feel like it's got a little bit more character than some of the others we've seen. So I do like that. I believe, let's see, that's just the saving. And yeah, like here you can see all the different components laid out. I think those are at the top, and then the actual pages and the different states are at the bottom in this canvas. And then you can go into focus mode and actually play with the prototype. So let's start off the shopping cart, and then I fill in all the things, all the info. Checkout, including Apple Pay, which is nice. Confirmation. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. To export the code, you have to be on a paid plan, but the free trial gives you at least a taste of what it can do. So yeah, that is Polymet. Okay, onwards to V0. So V0 is from Royale. I feel like it's one of the earlier prompt to code generators that I heard about, and I think originally it was just for components, not full pages. I could be wrong, but I do like it a lot. I think it's pretty mature and works really well. Very similar to Bolt. It's the chat interface on the left and the code on the right. and as it's doing its thing, it'll show you the code that it generates. So let me fast forward through this to get to the actual prototype so we can take a look at the design. You know, so it almost looks like a wireframe, but the visual design is kind of nice, if plain. I feel like it's got a little bit more personality than, let's say, the Bolt version. For some reason, it's just using shadcn components, which again are very unstyled. It even does validation, which I checked. I can't remember if I checked on the other ones. Sorry. And then it goes through. So there's the payment. And then finally the confirmation, which again looks pretty decent. So yeah, that is V0. It's also pretty quick, which I like, unlike some of the others. Okay, let's talk about Onlook next. So this tool is a little bit different than the others in that it is a self-contained desktop app. I don't think there is a web app. And it starts off the same way. You start off with a prompt and it'll go and generate it and then drop you into a canvas actually. So it takes a little bit longer before you actually see anything happening on the screen. But then once it does drop you in, it's kind of cool. So let me scrub through this a little bit more. And there we go. And what it's doing is dropping you into a canvas, and each of those little portals or windows, if you will, are views into a server that's running on your local machine, right? That's why it says localhost 3000 up there. The design is fairly typical, very straightforward, so that's okay. It does have, like, you know, it got the shopping cart. Now it's going through shipping and payment. I don't know. I don't think there was a confirmation. I guess the confirmation. Oh yeah, there is. There's the confirmation. So that's kind of cool. And then as you zoom out, you can see that it's showing you more of a canvas style thing. You can go into the layers and manipulate the layers if you want. And unfortunately, I didn't capture the styles tab over here, which would show you an inspector of whatever you just clicked on. So that is kind of fulfilling the promise that at least I'm looking for, right, as a designer. I think what is a little bit difficult with this one is that it is all one single page. That's how their AI coded it. So actually it's kind of hard to go in and mess with you know, the shipping state or the payment state, because I can't find it visually and directly, right? It's not here in the pages, and I think it might have been in the layers. I just couldn't quite make heads or tails of it. So that's one issue. The other one is that I did try using it today to capture the styles part, but it didn't work. You know, very similar to a couple of the others that we tried today. The preview just didn't work. There was an error. I tried messing with it a little bit, going back and forth with the AI to try to get it to work, but I couldn't get it running again. So this capture is from 9 days ago, and at least we had some designs to look at. So yeah, that is Onlook for you. Okay, onwards to Subframe. So I started Subframe with the same prompt, so very general. Now the thing about Subframe, it's not unlike a lot of the other tools that we've seen so far. It cannot create a full flow, although I hear that they're working on being able to do multiple pages at a time. But I like how but I kind of like it because that requires you as a designer to do some thinking, right? So it starts off with, I started off with giving it our general prompt, and I could see that it wasn't quite working, wasn't quite understanding what I was asking for. So just to give it a little bit of help, I first changed the navigation because it starts off giving everything a side nav, and then went back and kind of started over, but giving it a little bit more focus by saying, like, let's just start out with a the shopping cart page. Yep. So what I like about Subframe is that, very much like how Midjourney, if you all have ever used Midjourney before, it gives you 4 different choices, and they all start to slowly come into focus. I'll fast forward a little bit because it usually does take a minute or two, right? So you'll see that they're kind of blurry, they're shimmering because it's kind of like a skeleton state, and you can quickly see the differences, the subtle differences, I suppose, between the different versions. And then once it's all done, you are able to click into each one and see it bigger. Now, the super cool thing about this is that these are all live coded actual pages, right? So you're not just seeing a flat pixel version of these pages. You're seeing miniature, shrunken down thumbnails of the actual working pages. So that's kind of cool. So you can go through and like kind of choose the best one. I kind of like the shopping cart best. And then what I did after this was use this as a basis, right? So I went back to the chat interface and then asked it to continue to the next flow, right? Create the next page in the flow. That's all I typed, hit enter, and then it does the same thing. It knows that it should be the shipping and billing information page, so they come into focus. And we can take a look at what they are by clicking on them and seeing them bigger. So again, as I hovered over all these things, you can see that they're live elements. Click on all the different designs, and then I'll choose that first one because I thought it looked best and fit best with the shopping cart. So then we go through the payment page. So overall this does take a little bit longer. It won't create all the pages for the entire flow for you all at once, but you get to control it much better along the way, which I kind of liked. So let's get to the end here. There's even a confirmation page, and here's the final, right? So notice on the left is a layers sidebar, and you can go in and click on stuff in the canvas and change all these properties about the design, right? So this for me is a good combination of what I'm used to as a designer in Figma and a lot of the AI tools that we've seen so far in this video, which is like start from a prompt and get a working prototype, like an actual web page they can interact with. Yeah, so this is Subframe. I didn't go into the code tab up there, up here. But if I click there, if I had clicked there, you could actually see the working React code, which is super cool. Okay, let's talk about tempo. So tempo is a bit different than a lot of the other ones that we've seen, and I do think this is geared more towards product people or designers. And it's kind of cool in the way that they've kind of implemented this. So the first thing that you'll see is that it generated a PRD, right? So let me like rewind a little bit. So I pasted in our prompt, right? The shopping cart prompt, and it expanded upon that a little bit. And this is the PRD phase. And then what you will also see very briefly is that it generated a user flow diagram from that PRD as well. So it kind of goes through and mimics the steps that, human product people would actually go through, right? Us designers too. And so I guess you could add a visual context here if you wanted to, like give it some visual reference and stuff like that. And then you'll see that it'll start coding the things according to the PRD and the user flow. So, in the canvas, you saw that it basically mapped out all the different screens according to the user flow. So that's kind of cool. And it's generating all of those different pages. Right, so just a few minutes in, and it has all the different parts and all the different pages already. So that's kind of cool. From a design standpoint, it's fine. Like a lot of these, the visual design ends up being fairly plain. So I click the preview here so I can actually play with the entire prototype. Because like on the canvas, it's actually kind of hard to play with it. So this does have validation built in, so that's great. Let me just fast forward through that. And we go on to the payment. So from a UX standpoint here, it's not great because, that card changed, but it was kind of hard to understand that. And then finally, place order did not give me a confirmation. That's right. So, it fails there a little bit. And theoretically, so I think I was just trying to get to the confirmation here, even though it's here on the, it's here in the flow, but it wasn't in the prototype itself. Now, the other thing I'll say about tempo is that I didn't show here because I was having issues, is you can go and look at the different layers, right? So they call this the DOM inspector, and then click on certain things. And theoretically, and I've seen their tutorial videos, which allows you to do this, move layers around and visually edit them just like you would do in Figma, but I couldn't get it to work. No matter how hard I tried, I thought it was just some bug. I even came back a day or two later and tried it with a different project, but I just couldn't get it working. I talked to their support people, had a little bit of a back and forth, but then crickets. So I don't know. For me, this now becomes more like the regular prompt to code tools that we've seen in other parts of this video, as opposed to one that is more geared towards designers, where we can actually click and manipulate directly the components on canvas. So I wish it worked better. It's kind of a disappointment that it doesn't. One thing I do want to note, though, is that, I didn't do a deep dive into every single one of these tools. I kind of played with them at a cursory high level. So definitely check out whatever resonates with you. For me, it is going to be Subframe, because I think that gives us, as a designer, the best balance of AI working with real code, real components that are coded, and control as a designer, which is to be able to click around into the actual components adjust them on the canvas directly or in an inspector. A lot of the other prompt to code tools offer just, code manipulation, and again, for a designer like me, that's a no-go because I don't really know what I'm doing. But obviously I know design tools and I know how to use those really well. So okay, interested to hear what you think. So let me know.